Well, good evening, friends. I hope that you're doing well, that you're healthy, that you're ready to think about God here for a few minutes as we continue with 5 minutes for faith building. Throughout the Bible, there are various warnings that are given to man that ultimately the bulk of mankind, for whatever reason, disregards. And one of those major warnings that I believe many people disregard is found in the book of Numbers, chapter 32 and verse 23. This is where Moses is speaking to the children of Israel before they go into the promised land. And he tells them, if they go into the land and disobey God, to be sure that their sin will find them out. That is to say, they could be certain that if they choose to commit sin, it's not going to remain hidden, and ultimately they will face the consequences for it. They will not get away with it. And yet, it is the case that for years and years, for centuries and centuries, man has attempted to make himself the exception to that. That is, many times a person thinks that they will be the one to get away with some secret sin, that they can hide some sin in their life so sufficiently that ultimately they will never face any consequence for it. And friends, I'm here to tell you this evening that that is absolutely false. I've known individuals, friends, that have carried on illicit affairs for years and years and think they could keep it hidden. People who have hidden various drug use for some period of time and think they could keep it hidden. A completely separate life, a second life, they think they could keep hidden, and ultimately they could not. Their sin found them out. I think about in the book of Joshua, chapters 6 and 7, when the children of Israel were commanded to go into Jericho to destroy Jericho, but they were given some very specific instruction on how that was supposed to take place, some things they were to do and things they were not to do. And then included in the list of things not to do was they were not to take of any of the spoils of the things that would be found there in Jericho, the gold and silver, the treasures, that sort of thing. All that stuff was to be devoted to God, and they were given very specific instruction about that. But you remember whenever you read Joshua 6 and 7, that whenever Jericho is destroyed, a man by the name of Achan sees some treasure, some gold and silver, a Babylonian garment, and he takes it and hides it, buries it within his tent, and he thinks that he is the only one who knows about this, save for, I guess, for those that are also in his tent. But in terms of the nation, nobody knows that he has committed this sin. But ultimately, when you read Joshua chapter 7, what happens is that the people of Israel, after the mighty victory at Jericho, they are defeated by a little town by the name of Ai. And whenever they inquire of God as to why this defeat happened, God ultimately informs them that there was sin in the camp and exposes who that person was, that it was Achan, and Achan then is executed as a result of his sin. His sin found him out. He thought that he had hidden some sin, that it was a secret sin, but it wasn't secret at all. Yeah, it was true that for a time period, none of his countrymen knew about what he had done. But notice from the very beginning, from the very point that he committed that sin, God always knew exactly what he had done. You see, from that standpoint, then, friends, there is no secret sin. Whenever I entertain some lustful thought in my mind and think that nobody knows what I'm thinking, God does. Whenever I'm away from my friends that are Christians and I am talking in a way that I would not talk if they were around, understand that God knows the kind of language that I'm using. If I am watching things and looking at things in the middle of the night that I have no business watching or looking at on the internet, God knows exactly what I'm doing. There is no secret sin. It makes me think of Psalm chapter 94. Let's read just a few verses here before we close this out. Notice what it says here, starting in verse 1. O Lord God of vengeance, O God of vengeance, shine forth. Rise up, O judge of the earth. Repay to the proud what they deserve. O Lord, how long shall how long shall the wicked exult? They pour out their arrogant words. All the evildoers boast. They crush your people, O Lord, and afflict your heritage. They kill the widow and the sojourner, and murder the fatherless. Now get this, verse 7. And they say, the Lord does not see, and the God of Jacob does not perceive. You see, there are people doing all these evil things, and they're saying, the Lord doesn't see what I'm doing. This is a secret sin, ultimately. I'm going to get away with this. Notice starting in verse 8. Understand, O dullest of the people. Fools, when will you be wise? He who has planted the ear, does he not hear? He who formed the eye, does he not see? He who disciplines the nations, does he not rebuke? He who teaches man knowledge. The Lord knows the thoughts of man, that they are but a breath. That is, there is not a single thing you will ever do, say, think, feel, whatever it is, that the Lord does not see and know. There is no secret sin. Our sin will find us out if we think we're going to be able to hide some sin in our life. Many times that sin will be found out within this lifetime. That is, other people will ultimately find it out. But even if we are sufficiently cunning to hide some sin that's taking place in our life from all of our friends and acquaintances, all of our life, rest assured of this, that God will lay it bare at the judgment. Ecclesiastes 12:13-14. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God, keep his commandments, for this is man's all. For God will bring every work into judgment, including every secret thing, whether good or evil. Friends, let's make sure that we are individuals who are living pure lives before the Lord, understanding that if we entertain sin in our life and think that we're hiding it, we can be sure, like Moses said many years ago, our sin will find us out. Well, friends, I hope that helps in some sort of way. I love you so very much, and I look forward to studying with you more this week. God bless.